We rented an apartment from one of our neighbors in order to spend the vacation at it. Nearly my whole family got out and left me, my brother, my uncle, and my 2 cousins because we were sleeping at that time. We woke up and stayed at the balcony talking to each other about a lot of different things, yet that didn't last for long. There was no single light turned on in the whole apartment, except for the balconies. At that time, my uncle wanted to make some kind of a joke by scaring us, since the whole apartment lights were off. He stood up and started going into the dark apartment. Before he goes into the dark completely, I asked him, "What are you gonna do?" He replied saying, "Nothing, I'm just gonna go to the restroom." The strange thing at that point was that when he was gone, there was no light turned on, not even the restrooms. We continued the talking, yet 30 minutes has already passed and he didn't come. At that point, I started to freak out, so was my brother. And my cousins were kind of mocking us because we were worried that something happened. I got out to see where my uncle is and to understand what took him so long. The balcony is attached to one of the rooms in the apartment, so I continued walking into the room and got to the door. I leaned my head out of the door to check the hallway. I couldn't see anything due to the fact that it was complete darkness. I started to call for my uncle several times, saying, "Knock it off. It's not the time to do a joke." Yet there was no response. I called for my brother, and he looked at the hallway exactly the same way I did. And that was the point where we saw it. It was this doll from the movie Dead Silence, looking at me and my brother, yet the only thing we were seeing is just its head leaning from the opposite room on the same side as ours. I couldn't say a single word at first, but I started talking to my brother and asked, "Are you seeing what I'm seeing?" He was already gone by the time I asked the question, as I turned behind me to look and see that he already ran terrified from what he saw. I immediately ran as fast as I can to get to the balcony. Then I started questioning him of what he saw, and he described exactly what I saw. My worries at that time started to grow even bigger, as my uncle didn't show up, and so far, that was 40 minutes, plus the thing that we saw. Me and my brother got up to check my uncle again, and made the same pose of leaning out of the door. It took us a few seconds to realize the fact that this doll is not leaning with the head or anything, yet it was completely out of the room, standing just right outside of it. I didn't know what to do. It was like I completely lost control over my body, and that was when it started moving towards us. That second, we were already running back to the balcony and shut the door waiting for someone to come. After a while, waiting in the balcony, my uncle opened the door wearing one of the bed sheets, trying to scare us. At that point, I believed that my uncle was the one responsible for this doll thing, yet he swore to God that he didn't do any of that. When the family came back, everything went back to normal, and I got into the room in question and checked every last bit of it, and there was literally nothing to be found. After that, I never actually passed by this area, and I don't know what would happen to whoever goes there. I asked about this, and I was told that it was some kind of a creature called Jinn. The only thing I'm sure of is that I don't want to deal with that kind of creatures ever again in my whole life.